It's that time.
Yes, sir. Come on.
You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Come on.
We talking Barbells and Brews in here. Every week talking fitness and how to get this favorite beer. They feature a brew every week. On top of that, give you tips on keeping your stomach flat, looking sleek. Chaz and Gene got you covered on both scenes. You'll be curling 16s and mastering your cleans. You ain't gotta listen to no one else. They mix fun with education to better yourself. What more could you ask for? Hit subscribe if you wanna keep your lifting and drink game live. Your workout lacking, your diet need help. With Barbells and Brews, leave your worries on the shelf, yo. It's Barbells and Brews. Yeah, it's Barbells and Brews, yo. It's Barbells and Brews. Yeah, with Chaz and Gene, you can't lose. Come on.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Gene Volpe, back at you with Barbells and Brews episode 4. You hear in the background my buddy and sidekick Chaz Palmentary, Chaz Dembrowski. Right?
You're going to throw as much nicknames as you can.
I'm going to.
I love it.
Every episode, I'm going to say something.
One of them will stick.
One of them will stick. I think
we'll
Chaz
right.
Mataz is the move.
That's fine.
That's
I'm
like
okay
that's my go-to for you all the time. It's always been fairly popular around here.
Chaz Michaels, Blades of Glory.
Chaz Michaels. That's a Ron Burgundy-esque reference, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, here, this is an exciting one. I think we need to get down to business because we have had some technical difficulties up to this point with our first guest ever.
Listen, it would only be appropriate with the person we have here, right? I mean,
I agree, and certain things are
he's
left.
making us earn it.
We are earning it. There's no
Yeah,
question about that.
for sure.
Right? So to my left, if you're watching on YouTube, is our friend Chris Strosahl. How'd I do?
Nailed it.
I'm getting better and better at that every
Exactly.
time I say it.
Every time we try it, you're getting better.
It's getting faster.
It looks awesome.
Sooner or later, it's going to Strosahl.
Yeah.
You say it better than I do.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the case at all. Well, listen, we're so
It sounds
happy.
better coming out of your mouth than it does my.
That's true. That's probably true. Most things will, though. That's why I have the
Here we
mic.
go. Here
No,
we
it's
go.
not
Don't
true
give
at
him
all.
a
I'm
bigger
just
head,
teasing.
Chris.
I'm only teasing. Yeah, my head's getting bigger and bigger as we
Yeah.
sit here, right? So first, we got to take care of some housekeeping first, okay? So we're excited to announce our first sponsor, Tavor.
Yep.
Tavor.
Tavor.
Yeah, we should probably find that out.
We will.
Tavour. It's an app you can download on your iPhone,
And
iPad, Android, whatever
Yep.
you got, right? So why don't you tell them a little bit about what we're doing with Tavor and why we're giving them some love?
Yeah, so the app is a beer ordering app, and so they're a specialty beer ordering app. So they take these micro brews from across the country, those that are specialty brews, and you really couldn't get anywhere else. A lot of times they're the specialty brews of places that kind of have limited edition beers, and you can order them. You can order 1, 2, 3, a 6-pack, and the cool thing is that they're rotating all the time. So you'll get new beers here and there that you wouldn't normally get. And so it's an awesome app for those of you who are kind of interested in those ones you probably wouldn't be able to find at any beer store. So
Yeah, it's going to get real expensive for us, I think, at some point because what it allows you to do is fill up your crate as the month goes on. So they deliver to your inbox or actually to your push notifications on your phone a beer of the day. So I feel like it's one per day. Sometimes maybe they throw 2 at me. But you can actually run in real quick, select 1, 2, or 6 of them. Most of them are seem to be limited edition, limited release.
yeah, they're
right?
all pretty limited edition.
And most, I don't think I've heard of some of the breweries. Like I saw Evil Twin the other day, which I know the brewery, but the beer they had, I didn't know it. So you fill up your crate at the end of the month for a flat shipping rate. They ship you out the beers that you bought the previous month.
Yeah, and we have a code for our listeners.
Oh well, shit! I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're on there and you put in the code Barbells, you get $10 off your first order of 25, I believe, and so that's easily 1 beer, if not 2, on your order. So check that out. I would at least say try it. I mean, if you're someone who likes to get into it and wants to kind of sample different kinds of beers, it's an awesome app for you.
If somebody's giving you $10, go get it.
Yeah,
right.
Why
so
not?
Put the code in Barbells. Don't forget to give us. We'll say at the end too. You're gonna review us with 5 stars only on iTunes and some of the other places where we live. We'll tell you where that is. But we're excited to have Tavor on board, and that's where we're going to be getting our beer moving forward.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
I would only get it from there moving forward for sure.
I'm with you, dude. I'm totally with you. So and we have a good one today. So we're going to get into the beer of the day in a couple minutes. But first, let's really bring Chris on here, right?
Absolutely.
So we introduced Chris Strosahl. Chris, up to this point, is a trainer and coach as well as a member here with us at Paul Bunyan. How long have you been a coach here?
A coach here?
Yeah.
A little bit, about 2 years.
Well, so you said that in a way where you led me to believe you were a coach somewhere else.
There's
So-
a couple answers. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's been a coach elsewhere too.
I have been a CrossFit certified trainer for 7 years now.
Okay.
And I started coaching at CrossFit Boomtown in Rochester, New York in 2012.
It's a pretty cool name.
He's still
Boomtown.
open.
They are.
Cool. That's awesome to hear.
You ever get to
Yeah.
visit back there?
I went a couple years when I first moved down here, but I haven't been back in a while.
Nice.
You still talk to people from out there?
I still actually program for one of the girls.
That's so cool.
Who's pretty supremely competitive, really talented athlete. She moved to Seattle,
Oh wow.
so I.
I remember her.
Yeah, you know Ariel.
I absolutely
Hi,
do.
Ariel.
She
She's
was here
she's a
couple
competitive
times.
CrossFit athlete.
Yes, she
That's
is.
awesome.
And she's she's probably gonna kill me if I tell this story, but she may never listen to this podcast, so I'm good.
Or she will, and then
Yeah.
she'll call you up.
No, she was like, she's one of these people who found CrossFit and was never athletic and never did anything, and she went from 0 to awesome faster than I've ever seen anyone.
Quick.
And she worked hard. And I remember we went to regionals in 2013 one year, and coming back from that, she asked me, she's like, do you ever think that I could be on regionals, even as a team member? And at this point, she was like nowhere near that level. And I was like, look, I'm not going to say no, but you're going to have to work really, really hard. She worked really, really hard, and she made a team out west.
Yeah.
And so,
Is that true?
yeah.
So here's what's funny. I met her here with you.
Yep.
Years ago. She came like for a holiday or something.
She came for one of our throwdowns, yeah.
One of the
That's so cool.
And I met her and we hooked up on Facebook.
Yep.
So I've been friends with her ever since, and I've seen the transformation. So I know what you're talking about.
badass.
I didn't know you were behind part of that.
Yeah, I've been programming on and off for her basically since I moved down here.
There's been multiple times at Paul Bunny that I've, as a coach, gone to Chris for some questions, and
I don't
he's
doubt
provided
that.
some answers.
I don't
and-
doubt that.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's another level for me. I would never ask Chris for something. He'd be like, get your snatch down first, and then come talk to me about macros and micros.
that's the cool thing though about Chris. Like, I was having some issues with my snatch before, and I was like, hey, like, I need something.
I love coaching the snatch.
and
Honestly, like of all the movements, like
Yeah.
there's nothing I love coaching more than the
That's
snatch.
cool. I like that.
Listen, I have a love-hate relationship with it because I think
Everyone does.
it's the hardest thing we do here without – I don't
One
think
of the
Which is why
prettiest
which is
movements.
why it's the most fun to do, right?
Agreed.
Like, and here's the thing, like, and I may be getting into the weeds here. And
It's okay, get in the
Sami,
weeds.
But like working on things that you're not good at is fun, or it should be. And if it's not, then you need to rethink about what you're doing, right? Like, it's so easy to be like, well, I'm good at strength, so I'm just going to keep working strength and do extra strength stuff. And like, look, working strength is fun and is sexy because there's numbers and you can track the progress real easy. Tracking progress in gymnastics or the hard stuff, you know, it takes more patience and it takes more creativity. You have to find different ways to measure improvement.
and thusly,
But
don't
it's
you
so
think
worth it.
– and don't you think it's the most rewarding when you hit something?
100%.
Right?
I've had a lot of PRs. I track all my PRs for basically everything in CrossFit. The ones I'm most proud of are the gymnastics-based PRs and the snatch-based PRs.
Like, I'll even kind of piggyback on that. When I got my first bar muscle up in CrossFit, I was over the moon, and
Yep.
you were there, and I'm pretty sure you were there.
I was there. I think I have it on video.
But when I PR my snatch, like, I'm happy. Or when I get heavier and in some type of lift, I'm happy. But, like, there's nothing like the feeling of PRing or getting a specific gymnastics movement that you've been working on for so long. It's just nothing like it, in my opinion.
That's what's fun. There's such different strokes for different folks. I'm just really happy when I get in here.
Listen, and that, for a lot of people, if
as
you
you
can
should
get in
be.
here, yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And you should be happy to be in here because it's fun. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
like, this is fun. Like, making yourself better is fun.
It is. And I like you said, too, the measurable aspects of it make it so that I don't know, if you're watching this video, you can probably see two of our goofballs in the back here. We got Kevin and Chuck. And Kevin's one of those guys where we were talking about this literally a couple weeks ago during the Open. And he said, I feel like I hit a wall. Like, I'm stagnant. And I said, go back and look at your numbers from the Open last year. You're probably 25. You couldn't overhead squat at all. You know, now you're hitting 95, 115. He's like, yeah, you're right, dude. If I go back and look just like one short year ago, it's amazing the difference that's there.
That's why I write everything down.
That's why you write everything.
I've always told people I coach, if you don't write it down, you didn't do it.
Well,
Okay.
you should talk about the story about him writing
I guess
everything.
it's a good segue.
That's a good
then, right?
segue into the
so
story.
So the segue is that years ago when you first started,
Well,
that book
when Chris first started, like, he was one of those guys who was doing his own thing. He was the jacked guy in the gym by himself, working on whatever he was working on. And every single time you'd see him in the gym, he'd be writing stuff down in his notebook. And I was always curious about what that was.
Oh, yeah. And I still don't think he was really writing anything down. But he just told us he was. But anyway, so he had this secret.
I mean, I've got 19 of them I can bring in and
I
show
do.
you. Like, if you want
Chris,
to read the
this
rest.
is this
you
is
do
the
not
cool
have to
thing
prove
about
anything
Chris.
to me,
Like,
my man, I know it. But the one year, if you remember, it was like, man, it's got to go back 2013, 2014. Do you remember when Jordan spilled his water on your book?
Yeah,
People-
that was early on.
People like scattered, man. We were like, uh-oh. So Jordan's one of the trainers, and it was, harmless little mistake. And I think I don't know how to explain it, but you could see everybody, like, the air got sucked out of the room. Everybody
well,
was like,
if you see Chris training, he trains with such like a methodology and a focus and a passion that, like, if you were to, like, walk across or, like, kind of walk near him or, like, mess something up that he set down, you're like, uh-oh, let me set that back where it was.
Yeah.
So when Jordan did that,
Yeah.
that's
So-
like the epitome.
and
I'm really not the asshole they thought I was.
No,
Although
no,
everyone usually does
absolutely
think I'm
not.
an asshole when they first meet me.
I don't know. I don't know that it was it's not that you're an
not.
asshole.
It never
It's
was
just
for
that
me
you're,
either.
You're a pretty scary looking dude when you're focused. Like, you
I can accept that.
Like, you're tatted, you're bald, you're ripped.
Yep.
When anyone walks past you from the gym, they see that. I
yeah,
mean,
and plus
seriously.
you don't your affect is such when you work out where it's like it doesn't look like you're enjoying yourself. Let's put it that way, right? I know you are, but that's not what comes out of your face.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the pain face.
Yeah, the pain face. He's in the pain cave all the time.
I like that.
And look, I do have a fairly pronounced resting bitch face.
That's
Like-
funny.
That is there is a diagnosed male resting bitch face.
Is that true?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Is it like my wife's? I say it's not resting anything. It's very, very active.
I'm going to give that one to you.
It's an active bitch face. There's no.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously. I'm not going anywhere near that comment.
She doesn't listen to these podcasts. I'm not worried about it. She can't
I'm
hear
going
me.
to text her and be like,
I
yo,
know.
Yeah, you
listen
should
to
text her
episode
that.
She's gonna listen to this one.
She's gonna and she's
You
gonna
know
say
this is gonna be the one.
and she also is gonna say, yeah, he's right. I do have an
Yeah,
active
probably.
bitch face.
Look, the honest God thing is we know, like the people who have that, we know.
Yep.
We accept it.
Yep.
We own it.
Yeah, and I have the pain face, and it mostly looks like it looks less like pain and more like I'm taking a shit. You know that face? Like when I'm lifting, I got that like, crooked thing. You should see that on video if go to the YouTube channel because it's pretty ugly. But they make fun of it. But let's go back. Let's get back to some of the histrionics behind Mr. Strosahl, right? So, and actually, we're 12 minutes into this, dude.
Yeah.
So I got to start pouring beer.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the beer, actually, and then we'll get into that.
All right, why don't you start talking about it?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
start cracking.
So
cracking.
our beer today of the show is from Troegs. So Troegs Brewery is in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So it's pretty local in terms of breweries. You want to rattle off the name there, Gene, about what it is?
It looks like Boysenberry Tart Ale.
Yeah, so as the weather's getting warmer here, we want to kind of open it up to some spring beers here. And so it's a tart ale, 4.5%, very red color, light drinking beer for sure. And yeah, I'm interested to try it. I haven't tried it yet. But
Almost
Chris,
looks like a rosé.
right? Doesn't it? Yeah. But Troegs is an awesome brewery. It's in Hershey. I would be mistaken to say this, but it's one of the longest craft breweries in PA. One of the biggest. It's exploded. You can find it all over the state. But like I said, it's an awesome brewery. I've loved multiple beers from there, and I thought we could give them a shout
PA
out.
actually owns the oldest brewery in the U.S. too.
Yingling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But as Gene's pouring it here, very, very red, like Chris said, rosé color.
Yeah, honestly, if I hadn't seen the cans and you just had them out in the mugs, I wouldn't think that's a beer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
for
excited
sure.
about this.
So, I might be wrong here because I'm not the beer guy on the show, but I'm pretty sure as the warmer weather comes, people like to focus on IPAs and some fruity beers. So I thought that might be the best bet as it's getting pretty mild here in PA.
So it's crazy. I really smell the yeast.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's got a strong yeast odor to it, which is not a bad thing. It's just as soon as I pop the can, you can really catch it. No, I would agree with you. What I think there is that for me, for sure, once like October rolls around and the weather starts getting colder, I go for the darks. When it starts to get nicer and spring breaks, I go for the saisons, the sours, like a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, interesting question here. We're going to do this real quick. I have, I'm checking in on this beer on Untapped. So we use the app Untapped. We're going to rate this thing after I clear all these badges. We're going to rate this bad boy. But I also wanted, if I could figure it out, I'm going to tell you some of the
details of it.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure that this has many. This might be pretty new on here.
Yeah, it's relatively new for Troegs.
Oh, here we go. So actually, I'll save the commentary on this until after we actually get it drinking a little bit. But this one is called Boysenberry Tart Ale from Troegs Independent. This one is 4.5% alcohol, and it doesn't have any information on the IBUs, the International Bitterness
I would
Units.
assume pretty light.
You
What
think
do
so?
think? Yeah.
Yeah, based on my first taste.
Yeah?
It's not bitter at all.
So we got to do our celebratory cheers to your health and fitness, right?
Cheers to your health and fitness.
Cheers.
Cheers,
To your
brothers.
health and fitness, and we hope if you're listening to this at home, you're doing the same thing with us. Make sure you drop a comment, and wherever you're reading this, that you let us know if you liked it or if you tried it yourself. So what did you think? Why don't you tell me what you thought now?
It's light, really light, right?
Very.
Like a lot lighter than I thought.
Ooh, that got me in the back of the tongue.
Yeah, it's
tart.
a little bit.
It's not as tart as I would have thought, though.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I was expecting more of like a sour, like lambic, but like I didn't get that.
There's not a lot of body to it at
No.
all.
Yeah, right. And you're right.
super light.
You're right though. Like if you look at it, I guess now that it's poured, it looks a little bit more like a beer. But when we
Yeah.
first poured it, it really did look like almost a rosé champagne or something.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. I think this is a beer that I would want to drink after a long run or a hot day, or honestly, it'd be phenomenal on the beach by the pool.
Oh, that'd be a
like,
good beach beer kind of thing. So our rating scale, because I'm going to ask Chris to rate it for us.
Yeah.
Our rating scale is 1 to 10. This is our 4th beer, so we've rated a couple beers, 8s, some 7s, right? That's
We
about
had the
the gist
we had
of
the
it.
9.0,
We
which
have
was
the
a sour.
9.0. Yep,
right?
that was a sour. So Chris, based on
Well, don't forget now. Tell them what are we including in it? Because you also
you're
last
right,
time
yep.
you talked about the price being an element.
So,
of it.
so the price is definitely, I think, a factor. I'm pretty sure that this 6-pack was around $12.50, $13.
for you got a full 6-pack.
Yep, it was
Okay.
a 6-pack. Yep.
So about 2 to 2.25 a beer.
yeah,
About that. Okay.
yeah.
And they're in cans.
They're in can form. So what do you think, Chris?
I'll give it a 6.
Yeah,
It's not bad. Like for sure. Like I would drink it again, and like if I was at a barbecue on a nice hot day, and like I wanted a beer but I didn't want something heavy, I would pick this.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I would seek it out at a store.
I'm with you on that.
I think I'd go around like a 6.1, 6.2.
Wow. Okay.
I wouldn't give it too high. And the problem is like you lose the body after like real quick, right? Like you take a sip and all of a sudden it's pretty gone off the palate, unfortunately.
Which there's a time and a place for something
Absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, you're
You
absolutely
know,
right.
like I say, when you're sweating, when you're just chilling at a barbecue, chilling on the pool, like you almost want that. Especially if you're pairing this with food or dips, like there's no aftertaste whatsoever.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking too as you're talking about it. This is a good day drinking beer.
Really
Absolutely.
good.
Right?
date.
Like this is something where you can
Yeah.
have it at noon and not feel bad
Absolutely.
about
And
it.
the nice thing is 4.5%. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not going to hit the average person too hard. It's light.
Yeah. It's funny because I watched both your faces and both of your faces told me that it was going to be a 6. Nobody was
Really?
like, yeah, because you can see it. Like I always joke with my wife. My wife has this thing where when she's eating, I watch her eat, and if it's something really, really she likes, she can't control it. Her left eyebrow goes up.
That's
and
awesome.
I know she really, really likes it. Like, and I watch your faces.
Eyes
and
are the window to the soul, man. Like you can't hide it.
You can hide it, and I could see in your, and actually the corners of your mouth too told me, like where you were pursed. I was like, he's not loving it.
Right. Well, it's the whole thing, right? If you look down to the left while you're saying something, you're lying.
Yeah, right. That's true. Psychology. So this thing said, just to give you guys an idea what this looks like. So on the Untapped, it's been rated over 3,800 times, and the average score is a 3.65. They do it out of scale of
So that's
5.
like a 7.2.
So it's like a 7.3.
7.3.
7.3. So they rate it a little bit higher than what we gave it here.
Again, it depends on who rates it, though. I could see people really, really liking this.
Yeah.
I could too.
And
for sure.
not to get snobby, because I'm certainly not a beer snob, but I could see non-beer drinkers liking this a lot more than beer drinkers.
Okay. that makes
like
sense to
for
me.
example, my wife does not like beer like in the slightest. Like there's very
You
little.
think she would like this?
But I really think she would like this a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Listen, I think like you said, I would absolutely have 2 more of them. I would not leave here right now and go get a 6-pack.
No.
Yeah,
I agree.
Right?
Exactly. It's if it's given to you, sure, absolutely. But
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna buy it.
Yeah. So, all right, let's listen. Why don't you dig down the rabbit hole here? Last time we had this chat, we had some pretty good stories that popped up, like in the pre-show, let's call it. We had some good stories that popped up about the games. Like one of the things I always remember about you is somehow a couple years back I got relegated to judge you.
Judging you for the Open, right?
In the Open, sorry,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
Open,
yeah.
in the Open. Which, if anybody doesn't know, it's a thing put on by CrossFit. They open it up to really anybody across the world. But
Anyone not even doing CrossFit. They
yeah,
can
it
do
doesn't even have to do CrossFit.
Yeah.
We give them some of us decide to give them $20 so you can track your scores online. I do it every year. I love it. It happens to be my favorite time of the year, except for when I come in and they put me on the judging Chris circuit.
Chris.
And actually, I'll be honest with you. I always tell people I'm more nervous judging you than I am doing the workout myself. It's not really true. I actually enjoy judging you because I feel like I do a decent job and there's no bullshit. It's just give me the number and we'll go into it, right? And I'll say to you, what do you want? And you go, just give me every 10 rep, count it out, or whatever you want for that movement. You want me to push you? No, leave me be. I want to do it myself. Like I enjoy having that conversation, and I enjoy.
I've always enjoyed having you judge me. Like that's straight up. Like
Always, yeah.
always.
Oh,
Really?
Don't get too sappy,
No,
guys.
for
My
real.
goodness.
Like I haven't enjoyed the experience because the workout usually sucks.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But no, Gene's a good judge because, like he said, and I'm going to sound like a control freak here, but you do what I ask.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because I'm afraid of you. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, that's not true at all. What I'm afraid of is knocking you down into an area where you don't belong. So in other words, if double unders are tough to count sometimes unless you got a rhythm. I don't want to find out I have you at 92 and you had 180.
I mean, the good news is I don't count double unders.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say it. When we're doing workouts, I count them, but I learned early on in my CrossFit competitive days, don't count double unders because like it's just not worth it, and you're just much better off trusting the judge.
Okay.
That's a really good tip.
It's
I've never
interesting,
heard
and
about
that's
that.
actually
Yeah.
hard. I would think
I like
that's
that.
hard to do. I think by nature, you want to count everything you're doing.
Nah.
No?
I mean, yes, but you can shut it off real easy.
So you're pretty much saying, like, for that exercise with double unders, for those of you who don't know or listening, it's with a jump rope, and you jump up and you bring the rope twice around instead of one around. But so you're saying, like, when you're doing it, like, just turn it off mentally and just go,
When you're being judged, obviously, if you're in a workout,
and you're doing it by yourself.
you
count.
have to count.
Yeah,
But yeah, when you're being judged, that's the one movement because it's a high rep movement. And look, they're hard to count, and people do miss. So your best bet is to just trust your judge and go with it.
Yeah.
Because the reality is you're going to be talking about a difference of a couple.
Right.
Which if you're doing 100 double unders, who gives a fuck?
Right.
Well, speaking of CrossFit and just exercise in general, you've been a coach for about 7 years, right?
Yes.
In CrossFit, what's your background?
Background in terms of
Exercise, any
Exercise?
sport, exercise, whatever.
It's varied. It's long. Honestly, it's lifelong. So,
What sports did you play growing up?
so I play them all.
That's cool.
And gradually, I grew up at a time where specialization that we see nowadays, which is awful, didn't exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, soccer, baseball, basketball.
What do you mean by specialization?
The kids who you play baseball all year round.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like, look, there are even for the ones who are like super great. There's benefit to playing best sports. You watch the best baseball players, major league players, they all played multiple sports in high school because there's a benefit to giving your body rest.
Do you think that? Sorry to cut you off, but do you think that pertains to CrossFit as well? So, for example, if I'm someone who goes and does CrossFit, do you think it benefits me to do other things than CrossFit, or do you think CrossFit isn't as specialized as like a sport? What do you think?
I think the beauty of CrossFit is if it's programmed right, it's constantly varied, right? Part
Good
of the benefit of CrossFit is you're constantly it's not random. People always think constantly varied and random are the same thing, and they're
Yeah, like
not.
picking it out of a hat, pretty much. Yeah,
exactly. So
Not
it's not
that.
random, but it's constantly varied. So there's lots of different movements, and so it's harder to burn out in CrossFit, and you can do it year round. That said, one of the tenets of CrossFit, and you know this as a coach,
Sport.
is randomly try and play new sports.
Yep, exactly.
Ride a bike, shoot some hoops, and obviously
Throw a ball, like that's all. It's all in
do
there.
the-
Yeah,
The 2011 CrossFit Games.
they threw a softball, right?
They threw a softball, and
Yeah.
quite honestly, it was embarrassing for some of these fittest people on earth.
Because you got guys who are snatching like 300 pounds, and they go to
And-
throw a ball, and
couldn't throw a softball.
Could
And
you-
then you have Rich Froning, who is by many,
the MJ of CrossFit.
by most accounts, is the greatest of all time, crushing the softball throw, and then walking 300 yards on his hands and then snatching 300 pounds.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Well,
right?
Go figure. He's a former Division I baseball player.
Played sport, yeah.
Played sports. He knows how to move his body through space.
Yeah.
Like, great gymnast.
What do you think, Gene? Do you think you would have
Well, yeah,
excelled at
I'm
that?
confused by something. I think I missed something. There was softball in the games.
They threw a softball at the
It
CrossFit
was
games.
a softball toss for distance.
Yeah.
So you just had to throw the ball as far as you could.
Yep.
Yep.
And it was actually part
Yes,
of the
it was
competition.
it was a
So-
games
So in
points
essence-
awarded.
Yeah, I mean, so accurate, and you had to land within a 10-yard lane, right? Because accuracy is considered one of the 10 components of fitness.
Okay.
Right, that's where the wall balls. You
Got to
actually
be
have to hit the
accurate.
line.
Got to hit a target.
So in other
And a
words,
lot of people
if it
couldn't.
was 200 yards down the road, down the field, it had to be within 10 feet across.
Yep, exactly.
So it was like almost like a bowling lane.
Yep.
Like almost like a like hitting a golf ball at a driving range. Like you got to be within the width.
How did I miss
But-
this?
And it was people because it was 2011.
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of before the whole
ESPN wasn't covering.
popularization
Like
of
you had to
CrossFit.
you had to go to a house and watch it online because
Yeah.
and you had to be like a super geek about it.
Okay,
And
okay,
so
okay.
like I was, and I'm a super geek about everything I do. But yeah, but people were throwing like wrong-footed, like right-handed people were stepping with their right. It was embarrassing.
No
You-
mechanics, no functionality to it. It was
So I
hilarious.
got a couple follow-up questions, but after this statement, I still to this day, I was even as small as I was. I'm double the size right now I am in height and width than I was when I was a kid. I was the tiniest kid. If you guys know what the May procession is, I was always the first kid in line in the May procession. Went from smallest to tallest in the class, and I was always the smallest in the class.
Yeah, I
except
was
for, like,
always the last.
You were the
so.
last one, right? So we came from different body molds. But I could always play sports. I can throw, I can catch. I was a catcher. When I was 9 years old, I caught for a kid that threw 72 miles an hour.
Well,
When
what
you're
do you-
9 huh?
What do you think about, like, so he's talking about specialization, and you have children. I don't, so I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, for example, like your children, do they play more than one sport? What do you think about specialization?
So I'm in the middle, right? Here's what I think about it. I go both ways. I think Chris is on the money, especially when they're young. When you're young, like it's kind of where I was going with my story. I wasn't telling you how great I was, but it's odd to me when I see a grown man that can't throw a ball. Like, it just makes me uncomfortable when I see somebody throw a football, and it's like I go, oh, it's a shame. Like, is it really a shame? No, it's not, right? Because I can throw a baseball. What has that got me in my life? Nothing, right? But from a kid's perspective, like a guy like, say, Chris, John's son, who's at the gym, specialization when you're at that level is a good thing. But to
I agree.
Chris's point, and that level is the kid's going to be a pro baseball player. So I don't really need him playing. And I remember being in here one night and somebody saw him shooting hoops. And the guy was like, I probably wouldn't do that right now because you're going to turn your ankle, and you don't need to be turning your ankle when you're getting ready for the baseball draft.
Yeah, so pickup basketball is the one sport where like there's so many catastrophic leg injuries can happen in baseball.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, the town next to me had to this day, the greatest athlete I have ever seen.
Would
He
we know
was-
him? Would we know him?
He had probably 1,000 career bats in the majors. He had,
Okay.
So he was an amazing athlete. He was a year older than me. Was the state's all-time leading rusher in football. Like, just freaking nature. Dunked on us as an 8th grader.
That's crazy.
And was a great basketball player. Recruited by Penn State to be a linebacker. And just the purest left-handed swing you'll ever see. Phenomenal baseball player. And after his junior year, everyone knew that he was going to be a high pick in baseball. But he also had the chance to go to college and do football and baseball.
Okay.
So they let him play football, but they wouldn't let him play basketball. His
Interesting.
senior
That's
year.
really crazy if you think about it.
And then, so, again, but this is 25 years ago. Like, specialization wasn't here. Today, he probably would have stopped playing baseball.
Right.
He would stop playing football and basketball because he ended up being drafted 14th overall.
Wow.
Like,
That's high.
yeah, he signed like a $1.6 million signing bonus.
And back then,
in
that's a
96,
lot.
yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think just kind of going forward with this is like specialization's like good at a certain point, right? I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, if you show a proclivity to something at some point, I mean, even in an education field, right? Like, people can be really, really good students. Eventually, they're going to choose law, medicine,
Yeah, it's
whatever,
specialty,
right?
yes.
Exactly.
Well,
So,
and listen, if you even break it down to what we're doing here, if I came in here and every day and just snatched, and I was great at snatch, how's that helping me?
not at all.
It's
and,
not.
and quite honestly,
so that's a good point that you said, because like in fitness, right? Like
Yep.
you don't want to create a specialist, like
Yeah.
because if you're creating a specialist, you're going that one dimension.
it's not fitness.
It's not
right?
fitness,
So,
exactly.
and it's a problem. It's like people like to do what they're good at. And it's like, oh, I'm strong. Let's get stronger. Let's do strength programs. And it's fine. Look, if you want to be a big, bulky, strong person, that's cool, man. I'm not going to cast aspersions on the way people want to live their lives.
Absolutely. And it's
But
better than not getting in here at all.
No,
Right?
look, anything is better than nothing. I will always say that. But, again, if you want true fitness, like general physical preparedness, you got to do the stuff you're not good at.
Right.
Look, man, I love weightlifting, and I even took a 6-month portion out of CrossFit and just focused on weightlifting. And guess what? I got good at weightlifting.
Yep.
And after that 6 months, when I decided to do my first Metcon again,
Yep.
whoo, boy,
Your lungs were not up to speed, huh?
nothing was out of it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, let's do a handstand and deadlift workout because I'm good at both of them.
And then
or
you're
I
like, oh my
thought I
God.
was good
Yeah,
at
right.
handstands. Man, you lose it so quick. And again,
This isn't like to knock what you're interested in. Like, for example, if you're someone who hasn't gotten in the gym, but you love a stepping machine, use that.
Yeah.
Use that to get yourself into the gym, and use that to kind of make that the motivation for going, and use that to kind of vary your training. So you can still focus on that one type of like specific fitness like goal or that specific type of fitness, but you also got to understand that like you're going to have to branch out at some point. And I think it's only healthy that you do branch out at some point.
yeah, unless you have the opportunity to be in that 1% or top 0.5%, like if you're Lu Zhaozhong, yeah, you know what? Snatch and clean and jerk every day because you're the greatest the world's ever seen.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, like that. He's the Chinese
guy.
weightlifter, breaking records.
He's the
in
one that
his-
just hit the 485 snatch. or
No,
something?
that's
Different
Laksa Talashade or
Yeah, oh,
something.
man. Yeah.
The big
And he's
super heavyweight.
He's a big dude, right? Like,
yeah.
he
Yeah, he's a
looks
big guy.
heavy. Yeah?
no,
not
he's
as heavy as you might think, though.
not-
No?
He's probably about 365.
That's a big boy,
Like,
man.
He's a big boy.
He's not healthy.
No?
No, he's morbidly obese.
Oh, yeah? Okay, maybe I'm talking about the wrong guy.
No,
No,
you're
you're
talking about the
talking
same
about the right
guy.
guy.
Same guy?
But
But, like-
from our perspective, like if you look at a guy like that, like and think of this as like strongmen too, right?
Strong man, or you see this all the time. And look at an NFL lineman 5 years after their lift.
Yeah.
Man, they lose 100 pounds like that.
So I think
Yeah.
what Chris is talking about is like in terms of health now, like getting away from fitness,
Okay.
looking at someone with that type of composition, and I mean we can't literally take his body fat percentage, but if we were to kind of gauge and kind of look at what he's doing, 365 pounds on anyone, regardless if it's muscle or not, is
Right.
not healthy in the long run.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, your heart still has to do the work of a
Yeah,
super huge person.
exactly.
And again, it also
Not to mention the stress on the joints.
there's a big difference between fitness and sport.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
quite frankly, CrossFit they blurred the line for a little bit, and they're starting to get back towards at least CrossFit.com focusing on fitness
and health
not sports. So
specifically.
they're sort of diverging themselves from the CrossFit Games, which is CrossFit as a sport.
So I was going to actually ask that question of you. Is CrossFit a sport? And I think you just answered it.
It's both.
Yeah.
I mean, is tennis a sport?
We're
Yes.
gonna go down a rabbit hole.
Well, no,
here.
but like, look,
He's trying to get to a point where
you can play tennis to get fit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Running a race is a sport. Like, people who go to the Olympics in track and field or run a marathon in track and field, that's a sport. People who go out for a jog, that's fitness.
But as soon as you enter a race, it's a sport.
Yep.
All right.
I think we got to define it. Why not define it? And think about it as the fact that the time it becomes competitive and you start to enter specific competitions within whatever activity you're doing, I think it's okay to call it a sport. I mean, for example, there's people who go to gun ranges and shoot guns, but when they start trying to hit flying targets against other people, it becomes a sport.
So would you say NASCAR is a sport? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Listen, let's get into the important stuff, shall we? Because we're 35 minutes into this bad boy already. And I think one of us has to go coach. I'm pretty sure it's not me.
That would be I.
And I'm
That
done
would be
coaching
you.
for the week, so
What are you?
I said I'm done coaching for the week.
Good for you.
So-
You're going to relax.
Oh, yeah.
Is that why you got your workout in prior to this
Yep,
podcast?
Exactly.
I think I'm going to go get mine in with Chris after
There you
this.
Oh, I get
But-
to coach you tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while. So let's
Ooh, I like
get this
that.
thing. I feel better now than when I first walked in. So you can't push me too hard. Don't hurt me.
I will never push anyone harder than they want to go.
I love it. So let's get into the important stuff before we wrap this bad boy up. Chris is well known around these parts for being a connoisseur of donuts.
I think it's
At least
pizza.
maybe I made that up. And pizza.
I think it's pizza.
So we got to get into this for a minute or two because
Okay, we can
there
do
are
that.
going to be some local people listening. You are a New Yorker,
I am.
and I know that New Yorkers think that their shit don't stink when it comes to pizza.
We do.
So I'm curious that now you're down in my neck of the woods where we have good pizza. You know what? Actually, I got to bring that back. I come from Philly. Philly has good pizza. The burbs out here, there's a couple spots you can hit that have it. For the most
Yeah, what
part,
are those
it's
good
meh.
spots? Because
It's
I'm
meh.
interested to know.
Right.
Right? Where's Strosahl's go-to?
So here's the thing, and talk about getting in a rabbit hole. You're asking me to talk about pizza, and like the thing that sort of changed the regional pizza game is the increase in sort of Neapolitan style pizza.
Okay.
Right? Because Neapolitan style pizza, if we really want to get it, like you have to actually. There's a city in Italy. I think it's Naples. You actually have to get certified that you're making a true Neapolitan pizza. Like
Okay.
the mozzarella has to come from a certain area in Italy. You have to use a certain type of tomatoes in the sauce. Right? Real tricky. But in general, we're talking about that wood-fired, super thin crust personal pizza.
Okay.
Are
And
there any
that's not-
places around here?
Oh yeah, there's some phenomenal places around here. But what I'm saying is that's not regionalized, right? It's not New York style pizza. It's not Chicago style
Right.
pizza. It's not Detroit style pizza. It's Neapolitan. And so I think that's sort of evened the game out. So, and I happen to be a huge fan of Neapolitan style pizza. And so yeah, there's actually two. Like I have a top 5, and 2 of them are in the Philadelphia area.
Oh, really? What are those two?
One is Pizzeria Vetri. There's a couple
Okay.
locations in the city, and then there's a third at King of Prussia. And that's phenomenal. And Vetri is world-renowned chef, and
Yep.
like everything he does is amazing. But in terms of actual pizza, there's a place down in Glen Mills called Ravenesi that's the best pizza I have ever had anywhere.
Oh, so wait. So not only is it that one in the top 5, that's your number 1.
That is my number 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I gotta get there.
Vetri is in my top 5.
Yeah.
There's a place in New York, Don Antonio's. There's A4 in Cambridge, and there's Il Casaro in San Francisco.
So my man's telling me he goes to get pizza wherever he's at. So we got to take this to.
I would say when I travel, I travel a bit for work, and it's one of the things I do look is for the top-rated pizza joints, especially if it's Neapolitan.
Okay. So Ravenesi in Glen Mills. We're gonna.
Phenomenal pizza place.
I think I told you this before, and I still feel like I'm flagrant for this. But even where my wife works, her partner up there, the other pharmacist that works with her, has said this, and she's tough too. And she's always said, I don't know if she says it's her favorite pizza, but they love it, and we've never been.
There's people who like if you don't love Neapolitan pizza, like you'll be like, oh, this is really good, but like you might not love it. But if you love Neapolitan style pizza,
What makes a Neapolitan pizza?
Super, super thin crust. Usually the dough has to proof for 30 to 40 hours before they cook it. Again, true Neapolitan pizza. It's a certain type of mozzarella, a certain type of tomato, all from Italy. So you have to import it all.
I like
so
this
again,
beer and pizza show.
It sort of goes
My kind of
completely
show.
against this whole grown locally movement that you're seeing in a lot of restaurants.
Yep.
But I don't give a fuck. It's really good.
I love
So
it.
I think maybe we need to figure out. We're going to do a follow up with those guys and do a podcast up there.
Please.
So we can all try the pizza with Chris.
yeah,
Maybe
seriously.
we'll do
I
a follow-up.
better be a guest on that one.
Well, absolutely. This will be episode 2 for sure.
All right.
All right.
There's got to be
and
like
then-
an extension of the show, like pizza, like how we have Barbells and Brews here. It's got to be like PRs and pizza with Chris.
sounds good
Well,
to me.
it's a BYOB, so it works
Oh,
well
wow.
for your show. You can bring any beer you want. They're not going
Sold.
to care.
Oh,
We're in.
we're in.
All right, we're in.
We're
and
in.
then real quick before we wrap this up, tell me about locally. Where's your go-to spot for donuts?
Baylor's.
Where?
Baylor's.
Where's
so they are in
2 places. I'm a
Two
fan.
places, yeah. Chaz knows the real deal.
Oh, I don't know this one.
So West Town Market, it's an Amish.
Okay.
Amish Market.
So there's a third place. The original is in Lancaster, obviously.
Okay.
The Amish Market in West Town.
Yep.
And Reading Terminal Market.
What's that, 202 and 926 or
Yes,
202
sir.
in Dilworth Town?
No,
202
nine-
926.
926?
Yep.
Okay.
Check. Oh, it's
All
amazing.
right, so we're going to have
Yeah.
to do a breakfast show from there, and then we'll do the evening show from the Gravinessis.
Sounds like a good day to me.
That's going to be a good day of eating.
That's going to be a good day to eat. I
Gotta
think
find a
that's,
breakfast beer for that, though.
yeah.
Maybe we'll do coffee.
All right, sounds good to me.
Coffee and donuts.
Barbells and Java.
Barbells breakfast.
Whatever. Listen, I'm down for all of it. I don't care.
Let's go.
All right, so listen, I know we got to let you go because we're 41 minutes in, and it's just about time to start this class. I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it,
My
Chris.
pleasure.
First
And
always a
inaugural guest.
joy.
We're going to do it again. This was great. We got to
Yeah.
learn about you. Wrap this up for us. Tell them where they can find us and about the app again real quick before we shut this down.
Sponsors Tavor, App Store, Google Play Store as well. Definitely get on there to look at some of the beers. Use our code Barbells again for $10 off a purchase of 25 or more. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podcasts app. Give us a 5-star review if you can.
Yeah, go out to iTunes, download this, and give us the 5-star
Subscribe.
review.
Hit the subscribe button.
Don't ding them for me. Give them the 5. Come on.
Listen, I think with you
I
being on
think
the show,
it'll
if they
be a
give us
5
an
with
8,
him.
we'd
Yeah,
get an 8.
seriously, I love
Yeah,
it.
right?
So,
All right, so listen, as we wrap this up, we wrap it up with what we always do. Cheers to your health and your fitness.
cheers to your health, fitness.
Same to you, brother.
Thanks, boys.
Been a
All right,
pleasure.
Appreciate it.